the internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winford Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Turbulence the future, I'm going to end that CVM. See it happen. We've got the love others are searching for. I'm still loving you, even though you're gone. I could have been one of the most notorious. Keep it royal. Give thanks and praise for life. Thank you very much. Go bang! Wow, bang.
Need to estimate your duty? Perform a track and trace? Search for a declaration?
Then download the Jamaica Customs mobile app today. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is 12. Thanks for joining us for CVM News at Noon. It's Friday, December 12, 2025. I'm Amoy Harriet. Up first this afternoon, there is an uptick in a number of reported illnesses and diseases in Westmoreland since Melissa. That revelation from Medical Officer of Health for the parish, Dr. Marcia Graham. Now, speaking at the first meeting of the Westmoreland Municipal Corporation since the hurricane, Dr. Graham said there's been a notable increase in reports of dengue, scalp disease, flu, typhoid and leptospirosis. She revealed that since Melissa, there's been one tetanus-related death as well as a leptospirosis death in the parish. Meanwhile, behind every plot of land in parts of Jamaica are stories of struggle, bureaucracy, and a fight to prove ownership. While some see titles as just a piece of paper, the importance of owning them is much heavier, as unclear titles and missing deeds are locking thousands out of the land they've lived on for generations. Crystal Williams reports.
People have always had sentimental connections to the lands they live on, and as far as the early 1900s, removing persons from their land has been difficult. However, when it comes to squatting, especially in high-risk areas during a time of natural disaster, economist and consultant Janiel McEwan says it comes back to a matter of affordability. He believes the government can provide low-cost housing for citizens to ease this burden.
When you see where these people go, and when you ask them the question as why you live in this area, even though you know it's a high-risk zone, they'll tell you that they don't have anywhere else to go. And most of the times what happens is that they're looking for cheap rent, they can't afford to buy a house and all that sort. So many people, even when people live from Kingston to come to Montego Bay to work, they flock these areas because that's the area where the rent is oftentimes cheapest.
According to Professor of Macroeconomic and Applied Econometrics at the University of the West Indies, Dr. Andre Houghton, Jamaicans are no stranger to this issue. He says freed slaves were given access to the land to work, but not given ownership of the lands they lived on.
It is the unwillingness of government to really empower the average Jamaican with something as simple as a land title that has led us in this situation. And I say the unwillingness because a land title is just a piece of paper with some information on it that you can type up in anything, Microsoft Word, and all it takes is a signature.
He references members of his constituency and even his own grandmother who have been given access to the land they live on and even paid off the fees to live there, but have allegedly still not been granted ownership. He says persons who squat tend to be seen in an unfavorable light.
For the people who lived in the constituency where I ran, so many of them have paid off, but it took a signature from the member of parliament, and that has been not forthcoming. And many people speak ill-informed about persons who squat. They think that they are cheap. They think that they are poor. They think this and that. No, many people who squat are ambitious people, but they have no access. Because as the young man said before, NHT, which was designed to provide affordable housing, is being used to finance the government budget to do all manner of evil instead of doing what it ought to do.
Architect and historic preservationist Dr. Patricia Green referenced 1661, when King Charles gave land to every British subject over 12, including Colonel Hope, the founder of the Hope and Ligani Plains. She says freed African village leaders went to Parliament and got deeds for the lands they bought. But titles are what the government requires for ownership.
We should not be calling them squatters. That's the point I am making.
Exactly.
These are historical, generational family lands that have existed, and developments have just shunted them out. And this happened even after emancipation. The freed Africans bought land and built houses and farm. Now development is pushing them out and calling them informal and calling them squatters.
I think that's so important that you're highlighting that, Dr. Green.
Crystal Williams reporting for CVM News.
It's not every day that a 20-year-old Jamaican from humble roots gets to live their dream flying high and making multi-billionaire friends doing that. This Jamaican-born living in the USA has committed himself to doing the hard work, putting his faith to the test and winning big in more ways than one. He spoke exclusively to CVM News in this report about his recent trip to offer relief and life since winning the famous influencer's Mr. Beast prize money that earned him international fame.
His dreams were as high as the skies he now explores, flying far and wide and creating much-watched content on social media while doing so. But those dreams came from humble beginnings in Innswood, St. Catherine, his mother a native of De La Vega City and his father from St. Andrew. He recently returned to Jamaica after more than a decade abroad to render relief to several Jamaican families hit hard by the historic hurricane.
This was my first time flying back to Jamaica as a pilot, and it was big. I mean, it was always a dream of mine to accomplish this flight, flying back to my home country.
Kingston, Wagwan. This is November 601 Papa, flight level 190, Jamaican born. My first time flying here. Ontario, welcome home, sir. So that's big for me, man. My first time flying to Jamaica. Big milestone. I remember growing up here.
So how does he feel about his journey looking back?
So that was a really prideful moment for me as a Jamaican. I always dreamed of my flight to Jamaica, my inaugural flight to Jamaica. I always dreamed of that moment. What would it be? When would it be? And I knew it was inevitable, but I didn't know when it was actually going to happen. And so for it to be something combined with, helping other people, Hurricane Melissa, and just, hearing that controller say, "Welcome home," man, it's like something that almost brought a tear to my eyes. So that was just a dream come true for me. And then especially the reason I was doing it, being selfless, and, everything was volunteer. That was us paying for fuel, out of pocket, the landing fees, everything. So it was really just an amazing moment.
Captain Treasy, as he's popularly called, grew insanely famous recently after his big win on a Win-a-Jet challenge hosted by top influencer Mr. Beast. His opponents, 99 other pilots battling for fame and fortune.
It's still unbelievable to me, being able to say I know Mr. Beast. I spent like 2 weeks with Mr. Beast in depth. So going through that challenge, it was 100 pilots, and I just felt like it was my destiny, and there was no other way I could have won that challenge other than God made it a challenge for me. And no matter what was happening, I never, there was not one time I lost my faith or thought that I wasn't going to win. That was not even a thought. And the times where I would think and say, if he gave me a deal for 500 grand, would I take it? I said, nope, that's thinking of defeat. And if I think of defeat and I'm taking a lesser prize because I don't think I'm going to win, that means I don't believe in my God.
His journey from a social media sensation at 11 to pilot at 18, truly a testimony. And this latest win since he took the prize money and not the jet, a sweetener.
When I first started flight training, I did my first flight and I tried to get a loan and I couldn't get the loan. And I couldn't understand why I couldn't get the loan. And little did I know, God didn't want me to get the loan at that time because I ended up getting a scholarship. And if I had gotten that loan at the time, I would have ended up paying and being in debt for flight school. And I just remember going on the stairs and sitting and I was crying. And I'm really close with Jermaine Edwards. He's almost like a godfather to me. And I went and I listened to his song, Make a Way. And when I heard that song, I just said, this is for a reason, and God will make a way.
One that he assures anyone admiring his rise to consider as he allows God to take the controls of his life and success.
Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ. And that has been my rock through life, is just knowing if I've seen somebody do it, all I need to know is they did it so I could do it too. Where they bleed just like I do. And I would say, pray and believe and put yourself to work. And, faith without works is dead. And if you put in the work and you're determined and you have Christ on your side, I have no doubt that all your endeavors will come true.
He hopes Jamaicans will see more than just loss around them at this time, but a reason to give to others who are in need at the moment. He himself a champion for giving back.
In Westmoreland, councillors are appealing to the newly promoted Western Parks and Market Regional Manager for more speedy and effective cleaning and removal of garbage in Savna-Lamar and other communities. Councillor of the Savna-Lamar Division, Julian Chang, told the incoming manager that even before the passage of Hurricane Melissa, there were challenges with garbage collection in Savna-Lamar. Councillor Chang, who made the appeal at Thursday's sitting of the Westmoreland Municipal Corporation's monthly meeting, said since Melissa, the collection of garbage got even worse.
One of the issues that they're having is the fact that the major roadways are dump sites. So I'm imploring that you just take this up with the town, so at least we'll have no more dump sites in the town of Savna-Lamar, and we can progress in having a clean town whilst we continue to fix the drains.
And it's time for a break, but stay with us for our live interview when we come back.
In need of a loan? AIM Financial is the place to go. We have loans from $20,000 to $3.3 million. Get a loan to pay school or college tuition, medical expenses, bills, fix up your house, buy furniture and appliances, repair or buy a car. And when you're done, take a vacation loan. AIM has a loan for any purpose. Call AIM today. You won't find a better deal elsewhere. Guaranteed.
This Christmas, Benjamin's is bringing the flavor and the prizes. Win your share of over $1.5 million in rewards with the Benjamin's Flavor the Holidays promotion. From November 15 to December 29, spend a minimum of $2,000 on any Benjamin holiday bundle
for a chance to win instant prizes, weekly rewards, and grand prize giveaways. Scan the QR code in-store, WhatsApp 876-859-5651, or visit pabenjamin.com to enter.
Bake it, cook it, mix it. Benjamin's will flavor it. Authorized under Section 58 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Welcome Welcome back to CVM News at Noon. As recovery and relief efforts continue in the western parts of the island, the Office of the Children's Advocate is reminding the public that children remain among the most vulnerable during times of crisis. The office is imploring citizens to prioritize dignity, safety, and respect when offering aid or interacting with children in shelters and relief areas. Now, while treats and package distributions are ongoing, the office has launched a new public education campaign to guide citizens, volunteers, and content creators on how to support children without compromising their rights or privacy. To help us unpack this is someone who's joining us now on Zoom, who is a children's advocate, Diane Gordon Harrison. Thank you so much for joining us, Mrs. Harrison.
Thank you for having me, Boy. Hello to your viewers as well.
So the public education campaign that the office has launched, talk to me about this and why exactly you felt it was important to launch that at this time.
All right. So as you know, the Office of the Children's Advocate has the legislative mandate to look out for the best interests of children and to always promote and safeguard their rights. And so with the passage of Hurricane Melissa, it has thrown Jamaica into clearly an emergency kind of response mode. And many persons mean well, many persons are doing good, many persons are on the ground. But as the Commission of Parliament that always has at the forefront the rights of children and the best way to do things in all circumstances, we thought that it was important to issue some very important reminders. And so that is why this campaign has centered around the rights that children continue to have, even in emergency settings, the focus on privacy and dignity, because of course there is stigma that follows children throughout their lifespan, and also just the importance that child safeguarding principles are at the forefront of anyone's mind who is interacting with them on the ground. So that is really the nucleus of the campaign and the focus that even though we're in an emergency situation, children's rights are not on holiday, and the agency with responsibility for their best interests continues to be on the ground.
So speaking of interaction on the ground, how concerned are you about the number of videos we've seen on social media over the last couple of weeks with children receiving aid from, persons coming in and out of Western Jamaica, but their faces being shown of them getting that aid? How concerned is OCA?
All right, so the context is always important. We're not saying that there has always to be the obliteration of faces. But what we're saying is if children are appearing to be particularly distressed and particularly forlorn, then the dignity that would be accorded to adults, or should be, I should say, accorded to adults, because we have noted as well that sometimes some very distressing images are portrayed of people being very desperate and, grabbing for food and so on, which really diminishes dignity. We think that the same approach needs to be taken in relation to children. So where we have children looking particularly distressed, haggard, hungry, and so on, and the desperation and just the focus on ultimately survival is coming to the fore, then we think that the privacy and dignity that should be accorded to them is something that persons should be mindful of. Not everything needs to be portrayed. Not every item that is handed out, you need to be showing the persons who are receiving them. Fine, you may want to show what you're doing on the ground, because that is important, because people can recognize this is an entity or this is a person who can provide support, but we don't have to always focus on the person who is receiving that support.
And in addition to this, what are some other concerns you've observed regarding the treatment of children during relief efforts?
Well, if I could make the context a little bit broader, I'd just like to focus a little bit, not just on the relief efforts directly, but generally the crisis that usually becomes that much more focused in times of emergency with children. So or many persons may suspect that the vulnerability that attaches to children really multiplies in emergency settings. We have persons who are not living in their usual abode in some instances. We have persons in shelters. We have persons who are cohabiting with relatives and friends, just cotching because it's survival. And we have parents and guardians and really adults in different communities that are not focused on, what's best for a child, because they too have to be focusing on How am I going to survive? Where's the next meal coming from? Or how am I going to rebuild my home or my business or replace my personal possessions? And so the concern generally is that in circumstances such as these, child safeguarding principles really take a back seat. So yes, we're welcoming volunteers, but are persons diligently and vigilantly screening these persons who are coming forward as volunteers? Who are they? Do they have any antecedents that would make us think twice if we weren't so happy to see volunteers come? And that's really just one example of the different issues that come to the fore when we're treating with things that are not as streamlined as they usually are. There's also the issue of education. We have a lot of children who have had disrupted teaching and learning sessions, who are not being occupied appropriately. And then we can't forget, of course, the mental health issues that really attach to children in vulnerable circumstances and how compounded these issues are for them if they're not getting the support to help them cope with the issues that they face.
You know, Mrs. Gordon-Harrison, I'm going to assume here that ignorance has some part to play where, you know, the relief efforts and children are concerned. What exactly would you say are some examples of actions that may seem harmless but can actually compromise a child's dignity?
All right, I think I just mentioned one. Being very happy for volunteers from all quarters to come forward without taking the time to do the background check as to who these volunteers are. That's something that I think we have to be particularly mindful of, because we have all sorts of persons who are coming forward, manifesting good intention. And of course, people are so happy to receive it that they're not consulted the sex offender registry to see if any of the persons who have come forward as volunteers are in fact suitable persons to be exposed to children without too much supervision. And that's just one example that I think is particularly at the forefront of my mind at this time.
And as we wrap up, how exactly can individuals report concerns if they witness a child's rights being violated during the relief efforts?
All right, so the different lines and avenues of communication remain the same. There is 211 if anyone sees something or hears something that even makes them merely suspect that a child is in harm's way or not getting the best support or supervision. So the 211 line takes those reports for the necessary checks to be made. Of course, we cannot leave out the police stations because they're actively a part of the protective mechanism of children. And then, of course, the Office of the Children's Advocate remains always here, and we encourage persons to reach out to us. And if I could say directly to children and young people who are listening, that for those who have issues that they need help unpacking, they're feeling anxious, they're feeling depressed, they're feeling uncertain as to what the future holds or as to how to deal with a situation right now. Okay. There is the Office of the Children's Advocate's 24-hour child and teen helpline safe spot that they can always reach out to for that support.
All right, thank you so much, Children's Advocate there, Diane Gordon-Harrison. Thanks so much again for sharing with us this afternoon, Mrs. Harrison.
Thanks.
In news now overseas, U.S. forces have seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. Footage released by the U.S. government showed armed soldiers boarding the vessel, which Attorney General Pam Bondi said was used to transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. More details in this report.
The Trump administration posted this video of the seizure of the skipper off the coast of Venezuela on Wednesday. In the video, we can see troops descending down onto the deck of the vessel from helicopters. The US said it had been sanctioned due to its involvement in an illicit oil shipping network supporting foreign terrorist organizations. Now, this all comes amid intense speculations about what the US's increasing military presence in the Caribbean means for Venezuela. Now, we've confirmed that this oil tanker in the video is the skipper because we can see the letters and numbers visible in the footage match reference imagery of the vessel itself. So what do we know about this ship? The vessel has been accused of hiding its location. For example, this is a satellite image of the vessel, which experts have identified as the skipper at Jose from the 18th of November. But the skipper's last declared its position, according to marine traffic data, on the 7th of November.
It's time for a break. Stay with us. Sports is next.
Every day starts with care. Care that's always